So we discussed about getting the concept and having multiple ideas and product concept, and the house of quality gives us a detailed idea about the how the product concept meets with the technical capabilities, and then manufacturing, financing and marketing capability. So in different stages, house of quality gives us an idea of breakdown of what to execute, right, from how to what. Yeah, so this is the flow chart that we were doing. So in that choice essentially gives us a detailed roadmap. So while doing that, so the one thing we have looked at again, as you know, in many cases financial choices are obviously the deciding parameter, like your what is the return on investment, what is the payback period, or what is the internal rate of returns. These typically decide in terms of go no go in many cases, but that's not the only idea here, right? In terms of your product team, product development process, the go no go or those decision or stage gates depend on other choices also. So let's say financial, again we discussed that financial projections are not always accurate at this stage, that I don't know, you can use the estimates in terms of your projections and estimate them in terms of what will be a potential revenue or profit out of the product and so on, but that is only a projection. So that need not, you will use that to guide the decision, but there are other considerations as well, which is basically how the project fits with organization strategic goals. Do they have internal capability to develop it? So in a way the mapping helps us to get that idea, what specific technical requirements are there and how do they translate into the product later on, right? So sometimes what happens, people end up committing to too many projects, right? So what's the challenge with doing too many projects? Your resources are finite in organizations, not only the financial resources, it's also the human capital, right? Think of the number of people or workers in your factory, right? These are all limited. I cannot undertake 10 projects simultaneously, so I need to prioritize, I need to look for the fitment, right? So firms need to improve their project selection procedure considering the strategic fit. So strategic fit is a important aspect in this case. Again, how do you go back and say, one is your financial analysis, the other part is your managerial analysis. So one of there are several ways. First is at each stage, again we discussed about your PIC or the product charter, right? You go back to the product charter and mission statement and so on and see whether there is strategic fit. So this strategic approach typically can have two options, top down or bottom up approach. So firms or SBUs, so in the top down format what happens is that the company or the each BU lays out strategy. You decide the strategy, then you allocate funds across different kind of projects and then you execute those projects. It's a very top down or centralized format. Their organization will have a core product team or corporate office will have a team that allocates the resources and decides that what projects to chase. The other option which is your bottom up strategic approach has strategic criteria built into your selection tools. The selection tools, each time you do the project selection, let's say there are multiple ideas, the project team uses the corporate logic or mission statement or organization's broad objectives or competencies and then decides the filtering accordingly. So the filtering either happens centrally or by at the team level. It can have both ways. Usually the better performing organizations or top firms use a mix of both top down and bottom up here. Okay. So while we are talking about the non-financial part of the analysis or the managerial side of the analysis, we can use a 7-point scoring model which has, this covers both in a way. Okay. So this is your management interest, customer interest, sustainability of competitive advantage, whether your current competitive advantage, if this new project is helping to sustain it or not, right? Technical feasibility, whether it is feasible to develop and so on. The technical specification map gives us some idea in that what capabilities we need and whether we have that within the organization or not. Then about business case strength. The business case strength also comes from financial aspects and sustainability of competitive advantage. Remember, we discussed strategy. One of the key ideas that we are looking for in any project is your sustainable competitive advantage, right? Competitive advantage. If there is no competition, there is no need for new product or innovation in a way, right? If you have a monopoly position, you will probably take it for granted. So that's in a way that has happened in many industries also. When they have a monopoly position, they don't invent new products or they don't work on new products, right? These are organizations which are short sighted. You would have seen many organizations which fail in long run, right? We look at fit with core competencies. What is the core competency of the organization, and is the project fitting with the competencies, and then obviously the impact and profitability.